Welcome to the deep dive. We take the sources, find the core knowledge, and, well, give you the essential insights you need.
Glad to be here.
So today we're tackling something really fundamental, this deep-seated fear of change. Even when the change looks good on paper, objectively positive.
It's a huge human roadblock, isn't it? You listening right now, maybe you're looking at a big promotion or finding that perfect house.
Or launching something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's still that knot in your stomach, that anxiety. It feels just as real as if you were facing like actual danger.
Right. So our mission today is to get under the hood of that resistance fast.
Yeah.
Why do we put the brakes on when we need to evolve?
Why does our brain sometimes treat, say, a fantastic job offer like it's, I don't know, an oncoming train?
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't just, self-help talk. We want to look at the actual neurology behind it.
And the sources we looked at, they point pretty clearly to one thing.
Okay.
That discomfort, even with the good stuff, it's almost never really about the end result. It's the unknown that comes with the shift. And the brain has a very specific, almost automatic response to that unknown.
Okay, let's unpack that. The unknown. Why is it so scary? To our internal systems, logically, it could be exciting, right?
It could, but often the first thing that pops up is that loop, that dreaded question, what if I fail?
Ah, yes. What if it all goes wrong?
Right. And that anxiety, it isn't totally irrational. It's kind of like the brain trying to calculate the odds, the expected value, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have enough data.
Okay.
So underneath that, there's this phenomenon called status quo bias.
Status quo bias. Okay.
There's this really strong preference for things to just stay the same, simply because that's what we know.
Right. Even if the same isn't great, like, say, a job you actively dislike. Why would the brain fight leaving that?
Well, status quo bias is really closely linked to something called loss aversion.
Loss aversion.
Yeah. Psychologically, the pain of losing something we already have feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining something similar.
Wow, twice as strong.
So when you think about changing careers, your brain isn't just weighing job I hate versus potential dream job.
It's weighing.
It's weighing the certainty of this paycheck, even if I hate the job, versus the risk of maybe having no paycheck at all, even if that risk is small.
And that triggers the alarm bells.
Totally. The amygdala lights up, threat assessment mode.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. Let's use that career switch example.
Okay.
You might be genuinely excited about the new opportunity, but also, terrified of losing the stability or maybe feeling incompetent starting over.
All those things.
And the source material pointed out how often people look back years later and say that switching was the best decision ever made.
Right.
But in that moment, that status quo bias was screaming, don't do it.
It's that internal battle, isn't it? The psychological data, it shows our brains just love routine. Predictability feels easy.
Easy.
Yeah, cognitive ease, like taking the same route to work every day. Low energy, efficient, safe, maybe a bit boring, but safe.
Got it.
The second things change, the brain doesn't just register a minor adjustment. It can feel like a primal threat, like you're losing control. And you have to expend all this energy building new paths, new habits.
So we're basically running on survival software that's maybe a little outdated for modern life.
In many ways, yes. It's designed to keep us safe by keeping us still.
But then how do we tell the difference?
Yeah.
Between resisting necessary growth and avoiding genuinely stupid risks? Isn't sticking with the status quo sometimes the smart move?
That's a really important point. You absolutely need to assess the actual data.
Okay.
Is the status quo bias just about avoiding feeling uncomfortable for a bit? Or is the fear based on something concrete, like, zero savings in a super volatile industry you're jumping into?
Then the risk assessment is real.
Exactly. But for most personal growth, most positive changes, the fear is often about the process itself, not a well-reasoned assessment of the outcome. The bias is often working against what would actually benefit us.
Okay, that clarifies things. Which kind of leads us right into the next bit. If our brains are wired for resistance, how do we actually push through? We know it's uncomfortable, but what about the necessity?
Right. So we shift from the why we resist to why we must change. Despite the discomfort, the sources are really clear on this.
Yeah.
Without change, there's no growth. Simple as that. And perhaps more critically, there's no neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity. Okay, now we're getting deeper into the why it's necessary part. What does that mean exactly for someone avoiding change?
It means, quite literally, that your brain physically changes when you learn something new or form a new habit or navigate something unfamiliar successfully.
It's rewiring it.
You are strengthening connections between neurons. Think of your brain like a muscle. It only gets stronger. It only adapts when you challenge it, when it experiences healthy stress.
So that discomfort we feel, it's not just a side effect of growth.
It's the engine. It is the mechanism of growth.
Wow. Okay.
The moment you step into that unknown territory and manage it, you're building new, stronger pathways in your brain. If you just cling to comfort, to routine, to those easy status quo routes,
You're limiting your brain's ability to adapt.
literally, the long-term cost isn't just missed opportunities, it's potential cognitive stagnation.
That really reframes things, doesn't it? Like, think about any big positive step you've taken. Learning something hard, moving, mastering a new skill at work. Every single one probably involves some intense learning, maybe some chaos.
Absolutely. And that chaos, that was the necessary stressor, the input the brain needed to reorganize itself, to become more capable.
So it wasn't a sign things were going wrong.
Not necessarily. And here's something practical the sources mention.
Yep.
Framing these moments. Instead of just feeling stress, think of it as a challenge response.
Okay, challenge response versus...
Versus a threat response.
Yeah.
When the brain feels threatened, like that status quo bias kicking in, it can default to threat mode. Cortisol floods your system. You might want to shut down.
Right. Fight or flight or freeze.
Exactly. But if you consciously recognize the discomfort as like necessary work, okay, this is me building new pathways, you can shift into a challenge response.
And that's different how?
It releases different neurochemicals, more adrenaline, noradrenaline, things that actually prepare you for effective action rather than just panic.
That's actually really actionable. Okay, so accept the friction, label it challenge, understand it's the brain doing necessary rewiring.
Pretty much.
But knowing it's necessary is one thing. Getting through the actual process,
Yeah.
That's another beast entirely.
Which brings us perfectly to navigating the journey itself. Because change, it's rarely like flipping a switch, is it?
No, definitely not.
It usually involves sticking it out through that often long, sometimes really frustrating period between deciding to change and actually seeing the results.
Yeah, we found this quote, this observation about the timeline of change that just,
Yeah.
it really resonated.
Yeah.
Simple, but so accurate.
What was it?
Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and beautiful at the end.
Ah, yes. That's a great one. And we really need to zoom in on that messy in the middle part.
Why specifically the middle?
Because the sources strongly suggest that is the point where most people give up. They abandon the goal.
Really?
Go middle.
Yep. In change management models, they actually have a name for it. It's often called the trough of disillusionment.
The trough of disillusionment. Wow, that paints a picture. Okay, so why is the middle the breaking point?
Well, think about it. When you start something new, a fitness plan, learning an instrument, a big project at work, you often have that initial buzz, right? Novelty.
Yeah, initial enthusiasm, maybe see some quick wins early on.
Exactly. Positive reinforcement. But then the middle hits. The novelty wears off. The real complexity starts to show up. The amount of effort needed suddenly feels like it skyrockets, just as that initial dopamine boost is fading away.
And your old routine is gone, but the new one hasn't quite clicked yet.
Precisely. It's maximum chaos, maximum friction, minimum obvious reward, maybe.
Yeah.
Your status quo bias is probably screaming bloody murder at this point. And it feels like all that messiness is proof that you made a mistake, that you should just quit and go back to what felt comfortable.
That's the narrative the resistance creates. You're living in that moment of peak loss of cognitive ease.
So what's the way through the trough? Just grit your teeth and power through.
Trying to just power through the sheer chaos often doesn't work long term. It's usually unsustainable. The sources suggest a different tactic, breaking it down
And also,
into micro commitments.
micro commitments. Okay, so taking the huge, overwhelming, messy middle.
And shrinking it down into tiny, repeatable, almost ridiculously small daily actions.
That sounds like a way to sneak past the status quo bias.
It kind of is. A micro commitment is designed to be so small, so low risk, that it doesn't really trigger the brain's big alarm system.
Okay, give me an example.
So instead of facing the terrifying, I need to completely change careers, the micro commitment is just spend 20 minutes updating one section of my resume today.
Right, or instead of, I need to start this intense workout regimen.
It's just put on your workout shoes and walk outside for 5 minutes. That's it. That's the commitment.
Because the brain is less likely to fight back against something that small and clearly defined.
Exactly. And every time you succeed at that tiny task, you're collecting a small data point of control, of success.
Which starts to counteract the danger signal from the status quo bias.
Uh-huh. And remember that neural plasticity we talked about?
Yeah, the rewiring.
Those micro successes start to strengthen the new neural pathways. You're literally building the infrastructure for the new habit or skill bit by tiny bit. It helps you build momentum out of that trough of disillusionment.
Towards the beautiful end.
Towards the beautiful end. And it raises a challenge for you listening. Think about a goal you abandoned. Did you really fail right at the start? Or did you quit somewhere in that messy, confusing middle phase?
Just when your brain was actually doing the hard work of adapting.
Exactly. When it was physically struggling to build something new.
Wow. Just knowing that the chaos is supposed to be there, that it's a feature, not a bug signaling abort mission, that changes the perspective entirely.
It's critical information, isn't it? It might be what separates sticking with it from falling back.
Recognizing the mess as the work, as the necessary part of building something new.
It's the temporary cost of that physical brain growth.
Okay, so let's wrap this deep dive up. Let's synthesize the main takeaway for everyone listening. We've got the resistance drivers, status quo bias, loss aversion, the brain wanting cognitive ease.
Sure.
And we've got the necessity. Growth requires challenging the brain, building neural plasticity, getting through that messy middle.
Right. So the big strategy, the mindset shift, is really about active reframing.
Reframing. How so?
Instead of seeing all that friction, that discomfort, as just an obstacle trying to stop you,
Yeah.
we need to try and see change, even the messy parts, as a teacher.
A teacher, I like that. So every challenge, every pivot, every moment of chaos, it's not just a threat.
It's potentially an instructor. It's trying to give you a lesson, maybe show you some critical data about yourself or the situation. If you can adopt that viewpoint, the whole experience feels different.
The messiness becomes less about failure and more about information gathering.
Exactly. What's the chaos telling you? Maybe it's not yelling retreat. Maybe it's actually revealing the specific weak points in your current approach, the things you need to adjust or strengthen.
Okay, that leads to a final thought then. If every new chapter, every change has something to teach us, what specific lesson might you be avoiding right now by clinging so tightly to the comfort of your routine? What important information about your own potential are you maybe refusing to see by staying only in the known?
It's about encouraging yourself to actively look for that teacher, hiding in the unknown bits, because ultimately that's where the real lasting growth gets activated.
A powerful thought to end on. Until next time, keep digging.